we get very, very close now to the date. It seemed like a long way off when I first pitched up here on Monday, but we're getting there, aren't we, minute by minute? So anyway, but look, just some other news that's in town. It's not all about the royals, is it? The government revealed today that 2,450 British nationals were evacuated from Sudan. But did you know that the government isn't actually even obliged to assist dual nationals in another country? And should they have used the money there on some of our problems at home? But it's not just Sudan as well. I don't want to seem like I'm particularly heartless about the people of Sudan and the British nationals over there. Frankly, it's loads of stuff that we spend our money on abroad. Could it not be spent over here? We are either in crisis and skint, or we're not. Which one is it? And some people, especially, dare I say it, those on the left, have to make their mind up. Emma Webb, director of the Common Sense Society, and, of course, a political commentator, joins me now, and a very occasional presenter on GB News as well. I'll give you a cheeky plug there, Emma. So, right, look, what's going on here, then? Are we spending far too much money helping out every Tom, Dick and Harry around the world when we've got people right here who need our support?
I think it was probably right to help dual nationals fleeing Sudan, but as Alison Pearson has pointed out in her Telegraph column, she made the point that that a lot of these people fleeing from Sudan are actually Sudanese. They are dual nationals, but they are Sudanese citizens. So it's not the same as, for example, helping British citizens to flee from Afghanistan, as just to take one example. So I think, we've been spending money on countries like China, countries that have space programs. When we've got our own citizens suffering here, we could be ploughing millions and millions of pounds into dealing with the backlog of cancer patients and saving British lives. So we have so many crises at home that we could be spending our money on, but instead we're spending on foreign aid. Now, the argument for that is usually that it's diplomatically important to spend money on foreign aid, but it's also politically important, never mind ethically important, to spend British taxpayers' money on helping British taxpayers at home. So I think we could be ploughing that money into helping particularly cancer patients, which was Alison Pearson's point. Of course, there's an argument to be made about the inefficiency of the way money is spent in the NHS, but there are lots of better ways that we could be spending British taxpayers' money rather than spending in other countries that don't necessarily need it.
Emma, I wonder what would be less efficient, giving more money to our NHS or giving it to an African dictator? I mean, the way that both things are run, it just seems absolutely staggering, doesn't it, to me, which one would actually manage to skim more off the top and do whatever with it. But there we go. Emma, can I just ask, we seem to get a lot of criticism for never doing enough abroad with the world's problems. We've always got to be there, haven't we? And then some numpty in the media will pipe up, oh, have you seen what they've done? The Belgians have done well, haven't they? The Belgians have done well. Yeah, okay, all right, fine. But why are we expected to do absolutely everything and be all things to all people?
Guilt, I think, to some degree. We're always very quick to criticise ourselves and very light-handed when it comes to criticising others. The British taxpayer and the British government do a huge amount to help other countries around the world. The amount of money that we spend on foreign aid is eye-watering. I think if people got a breakdown of how much of their taxes personally were being spent on foreign aid, I think they would probably be outraged. Now, there are good arguments, of course, to spend foreign aid, and we should do things to help our neighbours and to be good international neighbours to other countries. But I think that that's fundamentally besides the point, because I think people have a sense of fairness. They feel that they are being failed here at home. There are people who fought in the Second World War who are having to sell their homes in order to pay for their care in old age. I think that the way that we spend money in this country generally is either very inefficient, as you said, or is just simply unfair. So I think that people have a real sort of sense of injustice.
Now, Emma, look, we are, of course, here at Buckingham Palace. Now, I'm putting you on the spot slightly here, but I want to ask you, ahead of the coronation on Saturday, all right, what kind of king do you want Charles to be?
That's not asking me about the royal family is never putting me on the spot, Patrick. I think that it's interesting from a monarchist's perspective. I think there's a certain ambivalence about Charles, because I think there are some concerns, at least, that he isn't as traditional and as respectful of the institution of the monarchy as many monarchists are. That said, he did, he has shown himself to be a traditionalist. I would like to see more of that traditionalist Charles coming out rather than the kind of international green politics Charles. I think I'd like to see a little bit more Roger Scruton than Greta Thunberg coming out. But fundamentally, I would just like for him to almost, as Princess Anne said in that fantastic interview that she gave to the Canadian broadcaster, I would like for him to focus on service and upholding the stability and continuity of the monarchy and ensuring its place within our constitutional ecosystem, and to just try a little to sort of keep his nose out of anything that is controversial. And as we know, environmentalism is now a very hot political subject.
Yeah. Well, it is. I mean, absolutely. And the total irony now of this coronation on Saturday potentially being targeted by the eco mob, when the chap who's in that big house behind me there, Buckingham Palace, has probably been as vocal as arguably anyone apart from Greta Thunberg when it comes to the environment, and many people actually think he's maybe gone a bit too far on that, because the environmental issues are now interwoven with the political, aren't they? And that, of course, is an issue when it comes to the royal family. And if they want to disrupt that, then they'll disrupt anything, but that's because of the kind of people they are, and he just can't win. I think he just can't win. But Princess Anne has got it absolutely bob on, and I hate to say this, but I did listen to some of Princess Anne's comments, and not for the first time, and thought, you'd make quite a good queen. But there we go. Emma, thank you very much. You'd be a fabulous queen as well, Emma, of course. Emma Webb, Director of Common Sense Society UK and political commentator, and as well occasional GB News host.